next guest says the haggling over the debt ceiling is a reminder that U.S. borrowing is on an unsustainable path. The U.S. deficit has hit $1 trillion for the first time since the financial crisis. Maya MacGuineas is the president of the Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget. She joins us live now. Maya, $1 trillion. What are the long-term consequences for our great-great-grandchildren of that?
Yeah, it doesn't. We don't need to look as far as our great-great-grandchildren to worry about what's going on, because our deficit and our debt are now so large and on such an unsustainable path. This is going to have direct effects on us, let alone our children and grandchildren. We are now in a cycle of borrowing where there is almost no discussion of, when it comes to new priorities, how we should pay them, what kind of budget we should put in place. Instead, we have a debt that is the highest it has ever been in this country since we fought World War II. Relative to the economy, the debt relative to the economy. And worse, it is projected to continue to grow by another $12 trillion over the next decade. Borrowing $1 trillion a year when the economy is so strong as it is now is absolutely the opposite of what we should be doing. So yes, this debt ceiling, which absolutely must be increased, and in fact, we've known about this deadline for months. It should have been increased months ago, but it should go hand in hand with a thoughtful, responsible plan to gradually bring our debt down. Instead, what we're hearing from our political leaders is that they are entertaining ideas that would increase the debt ceiling, along with a plan to increase our national debt even further.
So here's my question. When, I should ask, will the average American actually feel the impact of this? Because when you look at the headlines, the business headlines, it will say that, listen, unemployment is at record low in this country. You've got GDP obviously doing well in the United States. Even though there has been in the past some talk of recession, a lot of people are saying the U.S. economy, by all measures, is doing relatively well right now. So in terms of the average American actually feeling the impact of $1 trillion in U.S. deficit, when will that be?
Yeah. It is the greatest question, and it's kind of the biggest struggle that there is, trying to get people to understand the importance of paying our bills, not borrowing in an unsustainable way, and making the hard choices that would fix the debt. I think the national debt, in many ways, is kind of like germs in the air, where you can breathe them in, you can either become sick quickly or more gradually, but you don't see them, you don't know that they're happening. And that's really the same situation with this ongoing borrowing. It weakens our economy, but you don't know that it's come from the debt. It weakens our budget in that right now interest payments are the single fastest growing part of the budget. We will spend more on interest next year than we do on children. We will spend more on interest in 5 or 6 years than we do on national defense. Those things erode our budget, but people don't really notice them. Certainly, it doesn't become a kitchen table issue.
So then
it means
I'm sorry, go ahead. You can finish your thought.
Well, it means that we're weaker when we hit the next recession. And importantly, I think it means we're a weaker nation. There's so many threats on the horizon, from different forms of national security threats to changes in technology and the economy that demand a new social contract. And we are not addressing any of them because we are so over-indebted. But to your point, the average consumer just doesn't feel that in a daily way, and therefore there's no real political pressure to make the necessary changes.
Yes, and in this climate, especially as we gear up for 2020, on both sides of the political aisle, this is no longer an issue that either side cares about. I mean, it used to be the Republicans, but now the Republicans are obviously pushing what we have now, lower taxes, lower corporate taxes. And then the Democrats, of course, have moved so far to the left in terms of offering free college tuition or promising Medicare for all, free healthcare, universal healthcare, that sort of thing. So given this climate, where do you see the debt in 20, 30 years from now?
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head right there, because this is really a competition between two parties to promise more free lunches. Tax cuts will pay for themselves. No, of course they will not, but we didn't pay for them when they passed them. We can have all these things for free when there's really no such thing as when the federal government is giving something. There's no such thing as free. It means either we pay for it or we ask the next generation to. But this really reflects a brokenness of our system of government right now, where toxic partisanship has become far more important than good policy making. And as a result, I fear, unless we either have some really strong political leadership that emerges, which is certainly what I hope, or some kind of external push, either a hike in interest rates or other countries not wanting to lend to us as much, that forces this upon us, I fear we will continue borrowing so much that down the road, as you're talking about, our economy will be so much weaker than it would otherwise have been. Our standard of living will be lower, jobs will be fewer, and we will really erode the health of this country and leave us more vulnerable internationally in a way we never should have done. But it is just the slow boiling away of kind of an economic health that we had and we're squandering.